More than 85% of homeless people have one new legal problem each year, and over 50% have at least 3. Most of these legal needs are left unaddressed. This can impact on their housing prospects, their finances, and their chances to make a new future. And it's difficult to help when people experiencing homelessness are not aware that they have legal needs. But lawyers can achieve great outcomes if these issues are detected. Frontline community workers are best placed to help recognise the client's legal needs. You already know the client and have their trust. Sometimes you even know a good free legal service like HPLC, but sometimes you just get busy. So the HPLC has developed some quick ways to detect the most common legal needs. Community workers can save time and reduce the number of stresses for people experiencing homelessness. Sometimes it just starts with the right questions.
Hi, my name is Sue and I'm a lawyer with the Homeless Persons Legal Clinic. And you might be someone who is a worker or a volunteer at an agency that supports people who are homeless, or a residential service. Maybe you're a social worker with Centrelink, or a nurse who connects with homeless people. Well, people who are homeless have lots of legal needs, and they often don't know that they are legal needs, or how to see a lawyer, or where to find a lawyer. What we know is that they're more likely to talk to someone like you about that need. And so we want to give you a resource that will make it easier and more helpful for you to talk about those things, and to give the client a helpful referral to a legal service. So it's called the Legal Health Check. It deals with debt, housing, crime, guardianship questions, child and family matters in general. So I'm going to go through each of these one at a time and show you what the questions are and how they relate to your clients. So the very first question we ask is a question about debts, because a lot of people who are homeless have a lot of debts. They've got debts with Centrelink, they've got debts with people who've provided them with mobile phone, electricity debts. And so we've learnt you can't just ask them, do you have a legal problem? They'll say no. If you ask, have you got a debt? They'll often say no. But what we've tested is, if you say, is anyone chasing you for money? They'll say, oh yes. And so we ask that question. We say, is anyone chasing you for money? Do you have any payments due, accounts unpaid? And we give them some examples: phone, Centrelink, cash converters, personal finance. And then you list those. And if a client has some debts that they're owed, then on the back are some helpful suggestions for, well, what other information do I need? Maybe are there bank statements, or is there a statement from the creditor or the provider? And that's useful information to send along to the lawyers, along with the completed legal health check. But that information isn't always available, and so the lawyers can help find that.
So my role here at Roma House is an area manager. So I oversee the service, and Roma House has been operating as a trauma-informed model and also as a non-exclusion service. We're asking what's happened to get you here instead of what's wrong with you. So when workers are having initial talks with residents around their journey and their experiences, often questions that relate directly to the legal health check come up. Most notably, I think, or surprisingly for us, it was the issue around debt, and the fact that many people coming in have high spur debt, also have debt with credit card companies, debt with housing providers. So that component we didn't really consider as something we could address on a legal front, or that they had access to legal services which could assist them with these problems.
We ask a specific question about fines, because they're a debt that a lot of homeless people have. We think that about 60% of people experiencing homelessness have fines, and that the average fines total about $5,000. So Spur is the agency in Queensland that collects those fines, and they do recognise people's homelessness and take that into account. So it's really good for the client to indicate that whether they've got a spur fine or to find out if they've got a spur fine, and then to get them on a better instalment payment, because sometimes spur's a big computer. It might not recognise that your client's homeless and they might be paying at a top rate, especially if their total owing is like $10,000. So we think it's better to direct the client to the community engagement team, and then they can get on instalment payment like a $10 a fortnight instalment payment, which is a better outcome. Or they can sometimes do volunteer work and pay their fine off that way, and you can only get that outcome if the community engagement team knows about the person's homelessness. So that's why we ask those questions. The other thing we need to know is what's going on with the person's income and outgoings, because that's information that we're going to have to give to the provider. So we ask, are you on a Centrelink payment? What's your average income? Where does the money go? Do you have dependents? The kind of outcomes we are able to achieve with a debt, because it's not just a budgeting issue, it's a legal issue. And so we're asking, is the debt lawful? Maybe the person who provided the credit or who provided the goods didn't follow the rules, and so the debt's unlawful and it can just be waived completely. Or sometimes there's a hardship scheme and the person's entitled either to have the debt waived or to have their homelessness taken into account and have instalments that are appropriate, that they can really keep up with and that are less, we can arrange that as well. The other thing we can do is often your clients get a lot of phone calls from the debt collection agency saying, you know, make another payment, why haven't you paid this debt? And they're harassing and they're annoying and they're stressful. So we can just say to the debt collection agency, talk to the lawyers, stop talking to the client, and that just relieves a lot of stress for the client. So that's the kind of things that the lawyers can do with debt. The second category of questions are all about housing. Sometimes you might be involved in your client getting onto a government housing list or into some housing, but what the lawyers can do is stuff around that. We can negotiate with the department and find out which category the client is in and what they need to do to be in a certain category and to be accepted as priority homelessness. And so we can negotiate with the department. Sometimes the client owes money from a previous Department of Housing property, and that needs to be sorted out, and lawyers can help with that. So the questions we ask are all about when did you arrive at your current accommodation and where were you living before that, and questions such as, if you paid a bond, did you get it back? Because that's money that should be in the client's pockets. Or did you leave belongings behind? This is something that happens to a lot of clients. They leave properties quickly, they leave behind sometimes personal items, ID, or a sound system, something like that. And there are rules about what the landlord is supposed to do with that property, and so the lawyers can assist the client to get that property back. We ask if there's outstanding rent. And this is typically if, say, a couple have been renting and then there's a breakdown and someone leaves, but they might still be on the lease as being required to pay the rent, and then there's, even though they're not living in the property. So those are the sort of things that the lawyers can help with. Also, for a lot of our clients, they're on a ticker database, a blacklist, and sometimes they've been put on that list wrongly, and we can get them off it. So that's something else that we want to help the clients with.
Luke had recently been evicted from the boarding house where he'd been staying for the last 3 years. He was in a depressive state and lost track of everything, including the rent payments. He has been sleeping rough for the last few nights and has just arrived at Roma House. Our caseworker, Casey, is running through the assessment interview.
So how did you end up on the street, Luke?
I got kicked out of a hostel, got locked out, lost all my stuff.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess we should start with talking to Department of Housing and getting you on the priority list. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah? And are there any legal issues that come to mind?
No.
Luke actually does have a number of legal issues, but he just doesn't think of them that way. He's lost access to personal items, he's lost his bond, and the landlord wants to put him on the tenancy blacklist. If he doesn't get these issues sorted, they could undermine Casey's efforts to organise new accommodation. So, let's try that again using the legal health check. This time, when they start talking about housing issues, she goes straight to the housing section on page 3.
Okay, Luke, if you paid a bond, did you get it back?
No.
No? And did you leave any belongings behind?
Yeah, all my clothes, my stereo, a bag with my birth certificate in it.
Yeah, that's pretty serious. Was there any rent that was outstanding?
Yeah, about $300.
Okay, $300. Next question. Now, do you know if you're on the ticker database?
I'm not sure, sorry.
That's a bit of an issue. I think we can help you out with that. We have lawyers that come every Thursday and they can help you out with all that legal stuff. Did you want to make an appointment now?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And you can ask them to keep me in the loop so that I can talk to them and help out with any stuff.
Sounds great.
It's great for workers to be able to connect them with a resource that's right here and, you know, leading them, okay, on Thursday we're going to put your name down to attend this clinic. So that comes up quite often in conversations with residents, which is a big part of the work that we do. It's part of our induction as well when new workers come in. So we found that the advice and information that HPLC is regularly provided, very useful to keep up the momentum of the clinics here at Roma House. So workers can be involved with the clinic on a couple different levels. So once they sign a consent that the client's okay for them to communicate with the lawyers, they can keep on top of the situation to assist the law firm in delivering communication and also being aware of all the issues affecting the resident that they're working with, which again feeds into their recovery and support plan. And it's just having a holistic view of what's happening for the person. So by getting involved in that way and getting the consent of the worker, they could really address those issues as a whole, like the legal issues and how they get in the way of or contribute towards the other issues that that person is experiencing.
We ask questions about crime. Our lawyers aren't always representing the client in the criminal matter. That's unusual, but what we really want to do is connect the client to the services that are. So there's often a duty lawyer scheme in the court, and it's important for that duty lawyer to know that the person's homeless and some of the circumstances around that person. So that's the sort of thing we do. We ask, are you due in court? Or have you had contact with the police? Do you think there's any warrants out in your name? And we can help the client with all of those things, get them to court, get their homelessness recognised. And sometimes they'll be eligible for diversion schemes where they can get, instead of just getting the highest penalty, they can get put through to some support. And that's a better outcome for the client.
Sharon had a big night last night. They had a few drinks, and it was all going great until they started walking back from the party. The police stopped them and searched for drugs. They were clean, but Sharon became agitated when one of the police was searching her bag. She lost her cool and swore at him. She was served with a notice for offensive language and contravening a direction. This morning it's all a bit of a blur, but she's come to the drop-in centre to use the shower when she bumps into Simon, our caseworker.
Hi Sharon, why the long face?
Got busted by the cops last night for no reason.
Did they give you a slip?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Don't need to go. They can just add it to my bill.
Well, you'll have to be on court on Thursday.
Sharon has a collection of paperwork stuffed in her bag, and this new notice is about to go straight on that pile. It's a ticking time bomb. She already has over $7,000 worth of fines owing and maybe a warrant out. Let's try that again, but this time Simon pulls his trusty legal health check postcard out of his pocket.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Don't need to go. They can just add it to my bill.
This is something the lawyers can help you with. Did you know they're at Cafe One every Tuesday?
Lawyers? Useless, mate.
No, these guys are good. They're volunteers from big firms, and they won't cost you anything. Here, have a look at these questions. See the spur thing? rent arrears, even fines. Look, just turn up at Cafe 1. You don't need an appointment every Tuesday.
All right, cool.
Oh, here, you forgot something.
Sharon went to visit the lawyers. They helped her get legal aid at court and sort out her fines debt with some volunteering.
The postcard is really good for, it gives us as workers prompts to ask those questions, because often when we're asking people if they have any legal issues, the standard answer is immediate, no, we don't have any legal concerns that we need to tell you about or you need to worry about. So some of those prompting questions for us as workers on the postcards are quite useful, such as, is anyone chasing you for money, or asking about Spur.
The fourth category of questions, we title it guardianship. So people who are homeless often have decisions made for them by other organisations, and there's an order. So the public trustee might be responsible for their financial decision making, or the adult guardian might be responsible for personal decisions that they make, or they might be under an involuntary treatment order. So that they're required to take treatment and to see medical providers. And these orders are often appropriate, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes the client feels really, when those agencies are involved, the client feels really hopeless, as though they don't have any control over their life. And what we can do is find out exactly what the terms of the order are, and we can find out, well, perhaps it can be changed, perhaps it can be narrowed, perhaps the public trustee is able to give you some money that you can make your own decisions about. They are the sort of things that it's worth finding out about. It's worth seeing, is the order appropriate? Maybe the person's stabilised and their situation's not so out of control, and they're really quite capable of making decisions for themselves now. Or sometimes the client just wants to have their voice heard in the decision-making process. These orders are reviewed, and the client might want to say, I think it's a good idea, or I think it's a bad idea, or those sort of things, and lawyers can help with that. A lot of people who are homeless have been part of family breakdown and relationship breakdowns, so we ask a whole lot of questions about children and about family life. Especially if clients are from a different cultural background, they may not even know about the rights that are connected to relationships. So we want to give them some information about that and help them. Sometimes people who are homeless have children, and there are orders about the children with the other parent, or sometimes through the child protection system. And maybe the client wants that system or that other parent to know that things have changed, or that they are able and want to see the child and have some visiting and build a relationship back with the child. They're all things that our lawyers can help with. What we typically do in this area is not, again, represent the client, but connect them to an agency that does that. So legal aid, we're often making assisting the client to make a grant to legal aid, and we can help them write that out, and we can help them connect to what's already an excellent service that's provided by legal aid. So we ask, is there a domestic violence order or some sort of other apprehended violence order that you want to change, or that you want to take out? Just questions about your rights in a relationship. Can someone be violent towards you? Or sometimes people just want to get the divorce at last and haven't got round to doing that and don't really know how, and we can assist them with that. So they're all questions about family life that lawyers can help with.
Michael has been at the accommodation service for 3 months now. While he was there, he attended the HPLC and went through a legal health check. He found the lawyers friendly and respectful. They identified a lot of things they could help with, and together agreed on what to do. After that, they sent him letters explaining what they were doing and what things had got sorted. It took a while, but they had some breakthroughs that would enable him to make a fresh start in a new housing unit.
So it looks like we've got a place for you. It's a little unit over at Newstead. Is that good for you?
That sounds really good.
Oh, great. So do you think you'll be able to keep up with the rent and everything?
Yeah, I've got my spur debt down to $10 a fortnight, so I don't think that'll be a problem.
Oh, great. Did the lawyers help you with that?
They did. They cancelled out my phone debt and basically got my Casey's debt in half, and more or less take my name off the ticker list. They've given me access to my super, so with that I've been able to, will be able to possibly get like a fridge and maybe a bed for my kids.
That's fantastic, Michael. It's really good. That'll make things a lot easier for you. And that's your right, you know.
That's what the lawyer said. Thanks.
So we'll have another chat tomorrow and we'll make some more plans and maybe we'll go and have a look at the unit.
That'd be good. Yep, okay.
Now, do you know the location of the other legal clinics in your new area?
No, I don't.
Okay, well maybe someone there can talk to you about seeing your kids. Here's the card with all the locations on it. You know, if you have any problems, you can always go back and see them.
That's awesome. Thanks. Cheers.
Often our clients here at Roma House don't have access to legal resources and don't, in a lot of ways, question the rights that they have as well and aren't always the best advocates for themselves. A lot of our residents find that legal aid is not even an option for them, so they kind of give up at that point. So it's really empowering and quite uplifting and a new experience for people to come in and have lawyers that are actually coming where they're staying to work for them. And so that's been just a great experience to see how that can impact people in moving forward, because it's often legalities and legal concerns that can stop or uphold some of the things that need to happen in their life for them to move forward.
So at the end, we just ask a general catch-all question, which is, do you have anything else that you want to ask the lawyers about? And then we ask, and if you need a lawyer in the future, where would you go? Because this client might not always be at your service, and we want them, now that they've learned about what the legal issues are, to think, well, I do need to see a lawyer and I do need to see them as soon as my rent stops being paid. So we want to see if we can give them other ideas for where they can go.